Welcome to Democrats and the Issues. I am Martin Bacall. I am the Democratic National Committeeman for Arizona, and today I will be the host for the show, and I think you will find the show very interesting. I have with me as a guest the chairman of the Pima County Democratic Party, David Bradley. Hello, David.
Hello, Martin.
We have interviewed David earlier when he first was elected, and now we have a chance to revisit him and ask him how he feels about his first year in office and what he sees for the future. But before we do that, I know many of you may not have seen the first show. I want to ask David to tell us a little about himself and his background, and who is David Bradley?
Well, I'd be glad to, Martin. Professionally, I'm a mental health therapist and administrator. I'm the executive director of La Paloma Family Services, which operates group homes here in town and has been doing so for 20 years. I've been the director for about 9 of those years. I've been active in the political arena for about 14 years or so. I first started out helping Rochelle Horton get elected to the House of Representatives, and subsequently helped many other campaigns over the years, including my own. I've run a couple of times for the House in different districts and came pretty close the last time around, and kind of became the chair of the party back in January, February of this year. I'm married, have 4 children, and I've lived in Tucson for about 24 years total.
Right. Well, that's a lot. Yeah. We learned a lot about you. What prompted you to want to get involved with the party and become chairman of the party?
Well, over the years, the party has received kind of mixed reviews in its ability to help people get elected. When I first ran, I remember telling me that the party wouldn't be of all that much help to me, and to not count on it for much of it of support. And as I said, over the years, that it's waxed and waned with our abilities to be able to do that. And I wanted to try to make an impact on the party's ability to help people get elected, which is what the main mission of the Pima County Democratic Party is to get people elected to city, county, and state offices.
Right. Well, let's get back to the issue about how you feel about your first year. What are some of the high points that you've had during your?
Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah, there have been many highlights. You know, politics is many things to many people, but it primarily is about relationships. And what I have tried to do in my short tenure is to establish relationships with people who, some of whom have been disaffected from the party for many years, and to try to begin to build some coalitions that can come into play during our election cycles in a more effective manner. And I would say that, you know, if one were to review the year, he would say, even though you don't want to talk about low points, obviously not prevailing in the city elections would be a low point. And there are many factors for that, and I realize that many people are quick to assign blame, and to the extent that blame needs to be set on my lap, I accept it. But I think that there's more to the story. Many good things did happen this year. We had the Young Democrats Convention, the National Convention that we were the host county for, which we did an excellent job in hosting, and we're still getting good reviews from that. We did have our gala a month or so ago, which was very well attended and I think appreciated by most of the people that did attend, and hopefully we'll set the standard even higher for next year when we have follow-up galas. But the main thing is to set up a structure in the party, and I would say that I did not get as far as I would have liked during my first year to have a solid structure in place to be able to help campaigns. We did so in some ways, but then we were depending on people who sometimes overcommit themselves and have other obligations, and not having a solid base to rely on makes it difficult to be able to provide the support that we want to provide to campaigns.
A little later, I want to talk to you about, have you talk to the audience about that gala, because it really was a fine event. It was really, and we'll tell them how they can see some of it on our website. But right now, let's get back to what the title of our show today, which is a strategic plan for the Democratic Party for 2002 and beyond. And you have presented to the Executive Committee of the party a plan for the future, and I believe they've endorsed that. So I wonder if you could just give us a few minutes explanation of what that's all about and what you hope to achieve.
Sure. Again, the primary purpose of the party is to get people elected. That's what we're here for, and that's the step one or the central issue of any plan for the county party and the state party for that matter has to have that as the mission. That's the number one goal. In order to do that, as I said earlier, we need in place a structure that candidates can rely on, that people in the general public can count on, and that we can be proud of as a party. And that's what the plan is hoping to do or is designed to do. And I was very gratified that the executive committee of the Pima County Democratic Party did approve, in essence, the plan as presented. There are some minor modifications and additions, deletions, and those type of things, as you would expect when 35 people review a document. You can't obviously please them all, but we did, we were able to get it through, and I'm very excited about that. And there are central components to that, one of which is the hiring of an administrative director. I know people have various feelings about different titles, and I'm not a big title person myself either, but the main thing is to have someone, a paid position at party headquarters, where a person who can pick up the ball on a lot of the committees and clubs and other organizations that the party has already in place, but which historically we have not done a great job in channeling the resources of the party as effectively as possible. This includes our district chairs and our district committees, all of which are fully staffed, but we need someone who has the time and the energy and the talent to be able to channel those resources, to be able to provide support to candidates to help them get elected, which is what the main.
Before we get into that, that person had not been hired or put on
No.
staff. And a little later in the show, we're going to show the party address where anybody who's interested in applying for that job can come by and obtain a copy of the job description. But why don't you go ahead now and tell us a little bit about that job description and
Sure.
how you propose to go about hiring that person.
First of all, we're looking in terms of qualifications. We are trying to do this pretty rapidly. This is December 11th, and I know this program will show a few times after we probably have closed the application process, but the ad will run for a week or so. We've received probably 8, 10, 12 applications already. We're glad to accept more. We're looking, really for a really talented person who has the intelligence and the tact and hopefully the background. It's a plus, of course, if when somewhere around 28 to 34% of the population is Hispanic and it's the core constituency of the Democratic Party. It would be helpful if that person were fluent in Spanish. It's not absolutely necessary, but it certainly would be a good thing. And as I said, having a broad enough background that they've worked in situations where they've had to work with volunteers, know how to help manage volunteers and to recruit them and to train them and to provide them the support that they need in order to be effective members of the party, especially at the office level, and being able to, on a day-to-day basis, be able to respond to the public's requests and candidates' requests and those type of things. So we're looking for a talented person who's got those type of that type of experience, that type of background, who knows the community hopefully and is able to negotiate their way around the different, the beauty of the Democratic Party, which I think is different from that other main party, is that we have this, what people sometimes call a rainbow. Other people, have other expressions for it, but we have a lot of different aspects to our party. Different
White tent, I think I've heard.
Yeah, the big tent theory of getting their involvement and letting them know that their voice is heard. It doesn't always mean that your voice is going to prevail on every issue, but it means that we provide the opportunity for you to speak, to have your ideas presented, and have fora, plural, for people to be able to access the party, have their voice be heard, have those issues debated, and come up with policies and recommendations to our public officials, which is what the party is all about, and to recruit and train candidates who reflect that openness and that understanding that there isn't a monopoly on the truth, that there's always different ways to look at things, and we have that openness in the party.
So this administrative director would help recruit these people that you're talking about.
Right. Another aspect of their job is recruiting candidates, of course, for office and training them and providing them as much support as possible. Another thing that we started this year, which I was very pleased with, again, it didn't come to fruition the way I had hoped, but in terms of involving young Democrats in the party, it was fueled by the fact that we did have the national convention here this year, and that was a good thing. But we were hoping for more of an, a kind of a side benefit that I think we saw a little bit of, but not enough of young Democrats getting involved in the party, in the day-to-day operation of it, getting assigned to campaigns and those type of things, doing research projects for us. And so I was enthused by that. Again, not having the structure and that person to rely on, who in my mind has to be a paid staff member to kind of push it along. It didn't do as well as it could have or should have.
Let's take a minute. We'll do it again later, but let's show the address and the phone number of the Pima County Democratic Party. There it is right there. And I know the chairman would like anybody who's interested in applying for that job to come by and pick up that actual job description at 2617 East Broadway, which is just east of Tucson Boulevard on the north side of Broadway. And the phone number, in case anybody has any comments, is there. And our website is there, www.pimademocrats.org, on which you can learn some about this gala event that we talked about and hear the speech that was presented. And I'm sure the chairman is going to tell us a little about that further later. So let's just go on now and talk. Is there any more that we can say about this job of the administrative director?
It'll touch on every issue that the strategic plan brought up, which was the supervision of volunteers, the recruiting of them, the working with. What we wanted to have is to tap into our resources. There's a lot of people some of whom have been involved with the party recently, some who haven't, who have a lot of skills, who have been involved in campaigns for many, many years. We want them to be able to pass on what they know to the next generation. So there's always this percolating going on. There's always this transfer of knowledge and information. So we were setting up as a mentor internship program, where an intern will be assigned to a mentor who's been involved in the party and from different aspects, from the financing of campaigns to the running of them to the publicity to all the things that make a campaign viable and functioning. And this person, the administrative director, would help facilitate that whole process as well. The other big thing, and sometimes Democrats are reluctant to talk about fundraising, it is crucial that we have in place fundraising mechanisms that are perpetual, meaning that they're not just, what we're good at is trying to seeing a problem and raising money and solving the problem, and then we're strapped for cash 2 months later. What we need to have is a system in place where we systematically request resources from our constituents, from the people that we're trying to help, the people who are interested in the party in general, and let them know that, gee, we're going to come a knocking pretty frequently because what we do is important. This state has been managed by the Republican Party since I can remember almost, and enough is enough. We are the last about in every category that you can think of. We're the worst, whether it's teen suicide or high school dropouts or child care, or our ability to care for the weakest of us, which are the people at the dawn of life, our children, the sunset, the adults, and what we call the shadows, the Hubert Humphrey line, people who are disabled. And enough is enough. We have to have a party that makes sense, that speaks to the common sense and the common issues that we know are so important. But we have to have in place mechanisms so the word can get out. And in order to do that, we need the resources to do it. And sadly, I guess for some people's perspective, money is an issue.
Right. Let me just interrupt to make sure that everybody understands. We're not allowed to solicit funds here on this program. But we did put up a mailing address. Well, actually, it was a street address, but we do get mail there. And we would love to hear communications of any kind from anybody. So I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that you didn't.
Oh, sure.
So,
I was just explaining that.
I know, and that's perfectly okay.
The administrative director.
And you need money. Parties need money, clearly.
We'll have that role of facilitating that whole process.
Right. Okay. So we've dealt with that aspect of the administrative director. Now that person will be paid, but most of the people at the party who have worked for the party and will continue are volunteers, are they not?
Correct. And that's the core of the backbone of the party, are the volunteers. Right. What's been missing is that coordinating element or person who has the energies, time, and talent to be able to channel those energies effectively and efficaciously so that we can get to where we want to get, helping our campaigns, helping our candidates get elected. And that's our reasoning behind the paid position.
What's another aspect of this plan that might be something
Yeah,
new.
I've touched on a lot of them that the
right.
director will be involved with, of course, under the direction of the chair of the
Mm-hmm.
county. One of the changes that we made in the process was that the person who served in this role would serve for the term of the chair, so that a new chair could come in and have set up their kind of like their own cabinet if and when that occurs. So the other aspects of the plan are to look at and consider relocating our offices. Our office on Broadway has served us for 10 years and served us well for the most part, but it's clear that we could use more space to be able to help candidates have enough of a space there that they can keep supplies, they can have phone banks, those type of things, and also to be able to have meetings, more than one meeting at a time, and have some privacy in offices for people to be able to work in as well. So we're looking for a space of around 2,500 square feet, which would be about double what we have now. Again, our resources are limited, so we're not looking for any Taj Mahal office. We're looking for functionality, and including in functionality is parking and all those type of things, and easy access and location is important. So that's a key element of the plan as well, to try to execute a move, if we can, in the next few months to a more functional facility. And as I mentioned before, the fundraising piece is crucial to making all of these things happen and to be able to provide the support. We need a concentrated get out the vote campaign. Clearly, in this last election, we didn't do well. We won round 2 of the election, which was the day of the election. We lost round 1 handily. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but there's no excuse for us not to have in place the best systems that we can acquire using the state as a support, as well as at the national level. We were chatting earlier about some of the resources that are going to be available to the party in the coming elections. And we have to have the wherewithal to be able to tap into that. That's having the computer, just the hardware and software available, but also having people who can manage that resource.
Now, I just want to interject something. I know you're very, very interested in bringing young people into the party. You've made a great effort to bring the Young Democrats, those at the University Democrats in. And we talked about the fact that the National Convention of Young Democrats was in Tucson last year. Now, last weekend, I went up to Phoenix for a meeting of the National Association of State Chairs, and they held that in Phoenix. And a number of the people came up to me and commented. They had been at the meeting here in Tucson, and they were just so eager to tell me how wonderful it was, and that Tucson had done such a great job, the Pima County Democratic Party, in hosting that event. Interestingly, one of the people who was here, I think he was one of the officers of the Young Democrats, is now the state chairman of the state of Oklahoma, and he came up again and said thank you for all the efforts. So I'm passing that along to you here, so everybody in the audience gets to hear that.
Yeah, it was a great event, and again, we did make a concerted effort to put on a good show. I think we gave them all little pins that had the shape of our county party.
They will
our
remember
logo.
Tucson, I think.
Yeah, so yeah, it was a good event. But the goal is to get people elected, and all those events are nice if they contribute to the master goal.
I noticed looking at your plan, a couple of the features are participation and communication. So maybe you've addressed a little of participation.
Yeah, we want to get. One of the things we made strides on, I think, our website this year. We've done. We've modernized it a little bit. It's funny to use that term with website when we think 5 years ago there wasn't such a thing, or 10, whatever it was. But I think we've made it a little more user friendly. There's a lot more we can do with it in terms of communicating with our constituents, with our precinct committee people, having surveys put on that people can respond to and make it more interactive is one of our goals. Also to use email in a more effective manner to get the word out, to do legislative alerts and those type of things that are of interest to hopefully to many of our party members.
I'm wondering if possibly some of the people watching the show don't know what a precinct committee person is. Maybe you could tell us what that is and how one becomes one.
Yeah, there are different ways to become involved in the party. There's volunteering, as we mentioned before, in the office, and also doing working on particular campaigns or specific campaigns. We talked about the YDs and youth getting involved.
YDs is Young Democrats.
Young Democrats. And precinct committeemen are actually legal positions that people actually run for. They're offices that people run for. They have to get signatures, usually about 10 or 15 in their precinct in order to qualify. They go on the primary ballot, and they are formally elected. Those formally elected people are very important to the party because those are the people that get to participate more actively, at least up front, in terms of being involved in voting for party officers and those type of things. We also have the ability to appoint people, and we're more than eager to appoint people from all different backgrounds, from all different beliefs in the Democratic Party to encourage their participation, and we welcome people to do that, want them to do that, and want them to know that every time you take you exercise the right to become one, you inherit duties when you exercise a right. So whenever you exercise the right to become a precinct committeeman, you must know that there's a duty that goes along with it, and that is, among other things, getting involved in your precinct level, helping getting the word out to communicate with your local people in your neighborhood, helping with campaigns, showing up at meetings, participating in the party in an active way. It is not of any use to us just to have you sign up so we can say, gee, we have 500 this month and we had 200 last month. We need people who are willing to work and willing to do things, and we want the precinct committee people to be the backbone of the party and not just a token office.
Well, we got to come back to that, but right now we're going to put that phone number and address up again. Particularly, I want everybody to look at the bottom line, which is the website address that the chairman talked about, www.pimademocrats.org. And when they go there, there are a number of pages there in which they can see lots about the Pima County Democratic Party, including some about the gala, some about some of our organizations. All our county organizations are there, and many of the elected officials, and access to how to reach those elected officials. Also, we're starting a new page there of candidates for the 2002 election, and a number of those candidates have their own websites, and there are links on ours to those. So there it is, and hopefully you'll contact us one way or the other. Now, these precinct, you started to tell us about what these precinct committee members do. They go to their meetings, and what else? I mean, how do they get Democrats elected?
Well,
and what is there available to them to help them do that?
It's still true that even though money is a very big factor, and we saw it in this last run of elections where you can pour tons and tons of money and you can affect an election. And despite all that money, the margin of victory was still pretty slim, despite all those resources that we didn't have that were utilized against our candidates. Nevertheless, the precinct committee person, again, is this backbone person who has to be willing to at least walk their block. They have to be able to pass out literature. They have to be able to get signatures, to get these $5 contributions, which are going to be crucial for our legislative candidates this year with the Clean Elections Law. And if every precinct committeeman person got 4 or 5 $5 donations for candidates, that would pretty much solve the problem of candidates getting their required amounts, which are around $225, $250.
Right. Well, we did a show on the clean elections. I believe it's been running. So
so that's one thing, and the role of the party is going to be enhanced because of this, because of the limitations. At the state level and the city level, it has been clear that people don't want money to dictate elections, and that means that parties have to be better functioning in order to support candidates whose expenditures are going to be limited. They may be able to get extra monies if their opponents don't do things, as you heard. But the role of the party becomes even more crucial in the fact that it has to be able to stand up and have a backbone, have a system in place that it can be supportive. It has precinct committee people that it can rely on and say, gee, in this district we're showing, if we have the sophistication and the money to do polls, for instance, we could target areas and say, gee, we need help. We need to get out the word. We need you to talk to your neighbor. We need you to come in to the office and get some supplies that you can hand out. We give you phone numbers and emails and those type of things to communicate with people and to get the word out. So it's crucial. It's a crucial role. It's been kind of underplayed for many years, and we usually have 150, 200 people that are willing to go out and get the signatures and all that. We need more.
Right. Now, what do we have? What does the party have to help those people to do to reach?
Yeah, as I said, we want to have the resources available for campaign literature for them to hand out. Also, to provide an opportunity for them to speak out and speak up about what is important to them through the district chair, through the district organizations. You know, we're now down to 5 districts, 26 through 30. People will be getting notices about what districts they're in from the county recorder pretty soon. And it'll be an opportunity to kind of, anew or afresh, kind of get involved with their local district and with the Democratic Party.
Well, I was really thinking of the computer services that we provide,
Yeah, well,
so that people know.
Right, the walking lists,
That's right.
and the, we can help you identify the Democrats in your area and the Republicans and the Independents, you know, which is a whole other show probably in terms of communicating our message out to independents. But again, that's where we need those precinct committeemen, and we have those resources to help them.
We don't have a lot of time now. We're running close to the end. One of the areas we really haven't talked about is the communications area. Maybe you could just very briefly, for a minute or so, excuse me, tell us about that.
Yeah, well, again, I alluded to the internet, the website, using the districts as a communication tool, getting people to attend to those meetings more effectively. We have some districts where we have robust attendance every month. We have other districts where, you know, we're lucky to get 4 or 5 people out there. So, you know, we want, especially, you know, in our Hispanic community, we want to communicate better. We want to get the word out more effectively. We want our materials to be in, you know, bilingual. We want all those things in place to encourage their participation and to get people involved across the community, not just the regulars or the people who've been involved for many years. We want new blood.
Well, it's been really very informative, and I'd just like to say that I think that this year has been a great year of advancement, and it looks as if 2002 will be even a bigger year in advancement when we put this plan into place. Maybe you could just for a half a minute tell us a little about what happened at that gala. I'm sure people will.
Yeah, we were very fortunate via the auspices of Joan K. Cawthorn to get the Lieutenant General Claudia Kennedy to be our guest speaker. And she gave actually a brief talk, but it was very effective. It was 13 minutes. It's on our website. You can see it there. Our main honoree, I suppose, was Andy Nichols, and we had a tape that the family had made or someone had given them, which we presented. And our other honorees were George Miller, Janet Marcus, Bob Strauss,
and Lillian Fisher.
And Lillian Fisher, Judge Lillian Fisher. So we touched all branches of government, and I think we had a very good evening and raised a little money.
Right. So. Well, that's good. David Bradley, Chairman of the Democratic Party, I want to thank you for being with us. We'll talk to you again, I'm sure, at some point.
My pleasure.